Buffalo Kickoff Live, presented by Seneca Buffalo Creek Casino.
Welcome to Buffalo Kickoff Live. We've got the Bills and the Bengals coming up tonight in prime time. We are live outside of Paycor Stadium here in Cincinnati. I'm Josh Reed alongside Thad Brown, Matt Perino from Syracuse.com. Back in the studio, we've got Heather Prusak. She's going to be joining us a little bit later on the show, as well as Sal Capaccio from WGR 550. Thad, a huge matchup in this one, and it was a little bit overshadowed throughout the week by all of the Bills roster moves.
Hey, you bring some new guys into the trade deadline, and now the Bills have something different to talk about, going forward. But I'm interested to see how much does Linval Joseph and Rasul Douglas play tonight against the Bengals. Look, both guys I think are solid improvements, certainly help out what the Bills are doing up front and in the secondary. But they also just showed up in Buffalo this week. Remember, Rasul Douglas missed practice officially because he just got here to Buffalo on Wednesday. So how ready can a guy like that be after only a couple of days practice? Remember, the Sean McDermott coverage scheme, heavily zone-based, heavily communication needy. You got to know what the guy next to you is doing to know where you have to be. Now, look, Douglas has played a lot of that in Green Bay, so his transition should be a lot shorter. Shocker, they drafted a guy who fits in the system. I think that would make some sense. That said, I don't know how ready he'll be to play a full snap load tonight. In fact, I don't think he probably will. And for Joseph, although there's probably less to learn when your job is to eat space, and at 340 pounds, you can do that rolling out of bed. Again, there are things that you do have to learn when it comes to a new defensive system. So I think both guys will be on the field tonight, but how much they play and how much of an impact they can have against a really, really good offense, I think is very much in question.
Big picture-wise, you take a look at these two additions, and on the defensive side, you knew Brandon Beane had to do something. Rasul Douglas had 5 interceptions in 2021. Christian Benford and Dane Jackson, who have been this team's starters, they've combined for 4 in their entire career. So this is a guy that Brandon Beane said it best. They want him to come in here and take the football away. He's instinctive. Also, it was a very emotional locker room in Green Bay after he got traded. Guys were talking about just not knowing what to do without him there. Sneaky, what I think is an under-the-radar addition, Leonard Fournette. I've been saying that all week. He's only on the practice squad right now. But stay tuned for later this season. In December, in January, I really like what he potentially adds in that running back room.
Yeah, he's definitely somebody that they may lean on between the tackles. Let's start talking about both of these offenses. Two of the best teams in the AFC, two of the best quarterbacks in the AFC. That it's been a bumpy ride, though, for both Josh Allen and Joe Burrow. They're both coming off of big weeks last week.
Yeah, Joe Burrow, remember, started the year with the calf injury, and it certainly visually seemed to slow him down. The offense, too. The Bengals start 1-3. Remember, 4 weeks ago, this is a Cincinnati team that got hammered by Tennessee, lost by 24 points. But Burrow seems to have been healthy. The Bengals had a bye week 2 weeks ago, came off the bye, just utterly dominated San Francisco in San Francisco, and Burrow looked fantastic. As for Josh Allen, of course, it hasn't been early in the season. It was the last 3 weeks before last Thursday night in Tampa. The Bills did a lot of things better when it comes to going up tempo, moving the ball around. I want to see how much of that carries over. I thought a lot of what the Bills succeeded with in that game was Tampa mistakes. Doesn't mean what they did was the wrong thing to do, but can they continue to succeed with it against a team that probably won't be as bad?
Yeah, not all 24-point performances are created equal. They scored more points against the Patriots in that loss, and the offense looked just disheveled. Last week, they looked much better. As you mentioned, up-tempo part of that. Josh Allen running the ball, also a part of that.
Yeah, it's really important, and I think that he just feels more comfortable in the game when he has that option as part of his game. And I know they want him to run less, but when he's out, you just see the competitive fire come out of him, and it's part of what makes him so good. Khalil Shakir last week, he's somebody that I'm keeping an eye on in this game as kind of like a sneaky under-the-radar guy. Dalton Kincaid, obviously, he had his big breakout last week, but Shakir also a big part of what they're doing in that 11 personnel with Dawson Knox now out for a couple weeks.
All right, we are going to send it back to the studio. Heather Prusak joins us with more.
Hey, you guys talk about how Joe Burrow has looked so much more like the Joe Burrow that we're used to seeing, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And after that bumpy start, he's really turned things around. Now, of course, part of that is the calf injury he dealt with earlier in the season. You could attribute some of the struggles to that injury, but he just looks so much more like what we're used to seeing from him in this 3-game winning streak that the Bengals are on right now. Big wins over the Cardinals, the Seahawks, and of course the 49ers last week. During this 3-game winning streak, Joe Burrow has thrown for 261.7 passing yards per game in that time, 8 total touchdowns, just 2 interceptions. And you take a look at the stark difference between this 3-game winning streak and when they started the season 1 and 3 there. Look at just the total yards of offense there, 236 to 331. The difference between these 2 time periods we're talking about here. And, you talk about the defense playing well. It obviously helps when your defense is taking the ball away the way that Cincy's defense has lately, giving the offense more opportunities. But I think it was Micah Hyde who said it best earlier this week. When Joe Burrow goes, this offense goes, this team goes. I mean, the same could be said for Josh Allen on the other side with the Bills there. But this is going to be obviously the biggest, one of the biggest challenges that this Bills defense is going to face all season, going against Joe Burrow and all of the weapons that he has at his disposal. When you look at the Bills defense, we've seen them go more in that dime package there. Jordan Poyer kind of coming in as that hybrid linebacker, playing more up towards the line of scrimmage. A bunch of times we've seen that on third downs. There are some of these obvious passing situations. Interested to see if any of that carries over in this game tonight against the Bengals as the Bills try to contain and limit the damage that can be done by Burrow and all of the guys he has at his disposal in the passing game. All right, before we hit the break, let's get to our weekly fan poll. We're asking you, of course, about the offense and this firepower that we see on both sides. How many points do you think the Bills need to score tonight in order to beat the Bengals? Do you think 10 to 20, 21 to 30, 31 to 40, or 41 or more? You can scan the QR code on your screen right now to cast your vote, as always, and we'll share the results for you at the end of the show. When we come back here on Buffalo Kickoff Live, as always, we've got 5 questions coming up next. Earlier this week, I had a chance to sit down with Bills left guard Connor McGovern. That's coming up next.
Welcome back to Buffalo Kickoff Live. It is time for 5 questions. This week, Heather Prusak sits down with Bills offensive lineman Connor McGovern.
Connor, we were just talking about after spending 4 years in Dallas, and now you're back up north, and you get a chance to see snow for the first time in quite some time. Was it a welcome sight, or was it a I'm kind of over it already?
It was nice seeing it first coming down, and then after about the first hour or so, when I thought it was a dusting, all of a sudden it's 3 inches, so I guess a buffalo dusting. I was kind of over it. I'm already over it now. But I do love the colder weather, though.
So we talked about the weather. We talked about the atmosphere of being here in Western New York. How about just team-wise and being in this Bills offensive lineman room now for, the better part of a year now, I guess, really?
I'll just say I love how close this team is. Not just the O-line group itself, but the entire team. Everyone was very welcoming me, took me right in, and it was just very comforting to see that.
How about your relationship with Ryan Bates? You guys go way back to your Penn State days. What was it like, and what is it like to be reunited with him now in the NFL?
I would say I've known Bates for so long that I know him without a beard. So, when I think of picturing him, I see him without a beard. So I've known him going on 10 years now. So
what is your friendship like? Tell me about take us inside the Connor McGovern, Ryan Bates friendship. Is it a bromance?
I would say it's a bromance. You could see a lot of time we playing around, doing our WWE. You see us wrestling out before practice. Always finish with giving each other hugs. So just look anytime over before practice, you'll see us messing around.
So I hear you like to cook.
I do,
particularly,
yes.
Your specialty now is pizza.
Pizza and calzones, that's my specialty.
So how did that come about? How did you figure out that, not only you have a love for it, but maybe you're kind of good at it?
So it started back in COVID when I was down in Texas. I'm from northeast Pennsylvania, so we have very good pizza. We don't have that down in Dallas. So I was like, let's just start making it. And then I was like, this isn't too bad. And slowly over the 2 years of COVID, just started getting better and better at it. And then finally built up the courage to have the offensive line over down there. And now I just started taking off then once a month we used to do a pizza party at the house. I would make like 17, 18 pizzas, have a couple calzones, and make it a whole big thing.
Connor, you have 3 dogs, right?
2 dogs.
2 dogs. Okay.
Yep.
So tell me about your puppies. When'd you get them? What kind are they? Do you spoil them rotten?
They are very spoiled. Actually, our one dog, Bruno, he's a pit bull Rottweiler mix, just celebrated his 3rd birthday yesterday. So he got lots of new toys, treats, everything. They had steak and bison for dinner. Yeah, so they're taken well care of. Our other dog, Theo, is turning 4 on Thanksgiving this year, and he's a black lab and border collie mix. So he's the smart one, and Bruno, I'd say he's the fun one.
Talked about growing up in Pennsylvania, going to Penn State. What was it like to have all of the family support at your college games? Because I've heard that it was just
McGovernville.
I've heard it was just wild, the fan section that you had. What was that like?
So my family, they would have 3 RVs at every game. So they're only about they're in the first lot out of Beaver Stadium, only about 3 or 4 rows back. So you could see everything. And my uncle, he was the lead of it. And the front of the RV would have McGovernville 66 written on it, a big flag. And they would have this gigantic party every weekend. They would go to most road games. Like I still remember in 2017 we played in the Fiesta Bowl out in Phoenix, and they drove the RV all the way out. We had a bunch of people out there.
Connor McGovern, one of 2 new guards coming into this season along the Bills' offensive line, and the 2 guards, so far so good.
Yeah, I think the last few weeks, Osiris Torrance's play has maybe dropped down a notch from, wow, this is incredible for a rookie, to, okay, we're fine, we can work with this. But McGovern on the other side has been rock solid all season long, had a fantastic game against Washington, and has really been a dependable guard. Look, the best thing that you can say about a guard is that you didn't notice him, and so far this year, we aren't noticing Connor McGovern very much.
Yeah, and looking back to the guards who have been along the offensive line since Josh Allen arrived, this is a big upgrade and has been a big upgrade. We're going to take a quick break coming up on Buffalo Kickoff Live. We talked about both teams' offenses. The defense is going to have their hands full. We're going to talk about that. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Keys to the Game, brought to you by Tops Friendly Markets.
You definitely want to come out fast and obviously get off the field on 3rd down or even take the ball away. And, that's something that we have all this whole season been trying to do. Obviously the opponents have been coming out fast against us. Luckily we've been able to settle in and play our ball after the first couple drives. But, it's something that we have definitely been talking about, just starting fast and getting off the field.
Welcome back to Buffalo Kickoff Live. That was Bills safety Micah Hyde talking about the importance of getting some stops early on in this game. Sal Capaccio, WGR 550, joining us right now. Sal, anytime Joe Burrow and Josh Allen go toe-to-toe, the offenses are going to take a lot of the spotlight, but these are 2 very capable defenses.
No doubt. In fact, the Bengals on their side, they'll give you some yards, but they make big plays. They're very highly rated in takeaways, red zone, and sacks. On the Bills side, you heard from Micah Hyde. The last time these 2 teams played, the Bills did not have Micah Hyde on the field. Of course, with the neck injury, that was the game where he's telling us he was getting close, and maybe if they had won, he'd be available for the AFC Championship game. So now you have Micah Hyde and a healthy Jordan Poyer back there and Taylor Rapp. I expect the Bills to really lean into some of that disguised coverage with Hyde and Poyer, the way they like to do that. Also for the Bills, they didn't have Von Miller the last time they played this team. They did have Matt Milano and Tre'Davious White, so really quite a different personnel group on the Bills' defensive side.
And how much Von Miller can give the Bills tonight, I think, is a big key to this game, because Miller so far, you can tell that the ramp-up process has been gradual. He told us it was going to be this way. He didn't have a camp, so it's going to take him a while. But now, you think about the first 4 games that Miller played. It was a London trip, it was a night game, it was a road trip, it was a Thursday game. Now he's had extra rest. How much does that help? Is there a big jump tonight? Because when you look at all the moving parts in that back 7, like you talked about, Sal, having that edge rusher, that elite presence up front can make such a difference and be such a help to all the different things going on behind him. So I want to see how much of a difference Miller can make and how much healthier he looks tonight. I'm not sure it'll happen, but I think if it's going to happen, this would be a game where it likely would come.
The Bengals started the season with a 1-3 record. They've won 3 straight, and a lot of people point directly at Joe Burrow as being a reason, but their defense is also a reason for that. You know, at the start of the season, those first 4 games, they were allowing 24 points a game, just 16 points a game during the 3-game win streak, and are coming off a great performance against the 49ers.
Louis Amiruno is one of the best defensive minds in all of football. He was up for some head coaching possibilities last year. I think he'll get one in 2024 because what he's done with this defense, even through some transitions, they're still playing at an elite level when it comes to taking the ball away, when it comes to making big plays, getting after the quarterback. They're very highly rated. He'll have a really good game plan for the Buffalo Bills. And Josh Allen, the key for the Bills, don't turn the ball over and don't let them have those big plays.
To that point, the Bengals are still 30th in the NFL allowing yards per pass, 30th in the NFL allowing yards per rush. So they will give up yards, 24th against third down too. They will give up drives. It's not about all the other plays in the drive. It's about the last play for the Bills. Is it a turnover or is it a score?
All right, we are going to take a quick break. Coming up on Buffalo Kickoff Live, we're going to get to our players to watch. Stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Buffalo Kickoff Live. We've got the Bills and the Bengals coming up tonight in prime time. It is time for our players to watch. I'm going to kick things off. My player to watch in this one is Bills defensive end Von Miller. We touched on it a little bit earlier on in the show, but Von wasn't in the lineup the last time these two teams played, and you've seen an uptick in his snap count every single week. Last week, 27 plays that he was out on the field after the game. We had a chance to talk to him at his locker, and he said it was the best that he's felt. We hear that on a consistent basis with Von Miller. He hasn't made an impact yet, but boy, would this be the type of game that he can make a huge impact, some sort of strip sack fumble. Von Miller is that type of guy that shows up when the lights are the brightest. Von Miller, my player to watch.
I'm going to stay on the defensive side of the ball for the Bills. I'm going to go with Jordan Poyer. I absolutely love what the Bills have done with Jordan Poyer, especially last week, how they've kind of moved him around and become basically a second linebacker in a dime situation. Yes, he's a safety, but he's playing at the linebacker level, and I think Jordan Poyer has been the best defender for the Bills the last 2 weeks. Sean McDermott now knows he can employ him kind of as a chess piece. He can be a bishop and move diagonal, or a rook and move. You guys, I just want to, you know the way chess goes. He can do all of that with Jordan Poyer, and I think we'll see that today.
For me, I'm saying on defense, and when you play Joe Burrow, it is about the defense. Ed Oliver in the middle. Listen, we've seen what this defensive line looks like when he's not in the lineup. You guys mentioned a little while ago, Tennessee, what they did to this Bengals team a couple weeks ago. And I think a big part of that was Jeffrey Simmons in the middle. Ed Oliver can be that. He can be that game record. They need him to set that tone in the middle tonight.
I'm also watching a chess piece. The Bills took their draft pick upon, marched it into the board, traded in for Rasul Douglas, who is a bishop, a rook.
I'm over here playing checkers, guys. So.
we'll leave you alone there, Josh. Look, with this Douglas, I want to see not only how well he plays, but how much he plays. Like we said earlier in the show, hard to expect this guy to be ready to go to play 100% of the defense after only being with Buffalo for a couple of days. But it's T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and Jamar Chase on the other side. They could use a little bit of something out of him. This is a veteran who's been around the league. He's played in zone schemes. He knows how to make plays. Like Matt said, the guy can make interceptions. Even a little impact could be a big deal tonight. Now, while we are all watching defensive chess pieces, Heather Prusek has her eyes on someone on the other side of the ball.
Yeah, I was going to say, I will not be making any chess puns here, guys. I don't want to embarrass myself because I don't know much about playing the game of chess. I'm okay to admit that. So we'll go into my player to watch. As Thad said, I'm going on the other side with the Bengals offense. My player to watch is Bengals wide receiver Tyler Boyd. I feel like he's kind of this underrated piece in this trio that Cincy has of their 3 big wide receivers with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and then there's Tyler Boyd. But he can also make a huge impact at any given moment. He's got 2 touchdowns in back-to-back games. He's been so reliable. over the past 3 games in this winning streak that Cincy's on right now, he's got 16 catches on 17 targets, so only missing 1 of those times that Joe Burrow has targeted him. He's been very reliable in this offense, so a guy that I feel like can sometimes get lost in the shuffle, because obviously you're going to talk about Jamar Chase and T. Higgins right off the bat, Joe Burrow, but Tyler Boyd is a guy who I think can kind of quietly make an impact as well in this game tonight against the Bills. All right, let's get to our weekly fan poll before we close out this first half hour of Buffalo Kickoff Live. We know how explosive both of these offenses are, what the Bengals can do. We've been talking about it all show, so we're asking you, how many points will the Bills need to score in order to beat Cincy tonight? Are you thinking 10 to 20, 21 to 30, 31 to 40, or 41 or more points? You can scan the QR code on your screen right now to cast your vote, as always, and we'll share the results for you at the end of the show. That's because we've still got so much more to break down in this game. There's no shortage of storylines when it's Bills and Bengals, especially on prime time coming up tonight on Sunday Night Football. We've got another 30 minutes of Buffalo Kickoff Live coming your way next. Thanks for watching.
Buffalo Kickoff Live, presented by Seneca Buffalo Creek Casino.